Hey guys, Joe Bonamassa here. I hope you enjoy this KTBA Artist Spotlight from the great Vanessa Collier.
First of all, this cruise is an amazing opportunity. Like, my band and I have had a total blast. So I'm not very happy that it's ending tomorrow or tonight, really. But I would say last night was like a true highlight for me. I was sitting backstage watching Shamika Copeland and her band play, and of course I've seen them from the front several times. And I was sitting back there knowing I was gonna sit in and like almost brought to tears because I was just like, wow, she's just such a legend. And being on the stage with her, you feel her power. It's like, it's totally palpable. It's amazing. And then, you know, of course, I love all her guys. They're all incredible. So they were fun. I loved the Warren Treaty as well. They were very cool. Meeting Jimmy Vivino. I mean, there's no end, honestly. I have so much respect for every single one of these artists. I met Sue Foley. I've been listening to her records since I graduated college. I mean, you name it. Robert John and the Wreck, they were fantastic. Everybody on here is just monster musicians and so kind. So I love all of them. For a while, it was like just my mom and I. She had me young, and so I grew up with her, and we listened to, I mean, everything. I grew up in Texas originally, so I heard a lot of country music, which is kind of, I love the storytelling of country music, you know. And then she turned me on to Aretha Franklin, and, you know, I mean, all the queens of soul and funk. We definitely listened to some Ray Charles. I mean, just you name it. We were kind of listening to it. And then as I grew up, you know, my mom got married and then entered Blue Oyster Cult and, you know, that kind of thing, James Brown, all of that. So I was really introduced to a ton of music kind of early, and I didn't realize how much, you know, but it's definitely what's shaped me is like having listened to so much, I love all of it. So all of it gets into my writing and, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I look back and I go, I don't know how I did anything that I did, because like, I mean, yes, I was always involved in, you know, school. I always did very well in school and on top of my studying and all that, and then, you know, started playing basketball and split my time between that and saxophone for a lot of years. And then I got to college and I started like, I was an RA for 3 of my 4 years. I took dual degrees, you know, in music production and saxophone performance. And like, I look back and I don't know how I ever slept because there was just like, I had a full course load. I have no idea how it happened, but you know, I tend to fill my day with like inches of stuff, you know, every crack is filled with something. And that's true still today, you know. I was a little bit thankful for the pandemic for that because it made me reassess like, okay, maybe we don't need to fill every 15 minutes that I have, you know. But I think that's, again, goes to who I am. I love to be active and busy. It's like, it drives me nuts to sit at home and do nothing, you know. I can't be sedentary for long, I guess. I think music education is incredibly important. Again, I went through a very good musical education prior to even college. So keeping the music in the schools is incredibly important. And I started on a 12-bar blues. I mean, really, when I really started playing and improvising, it was a 12-bar blues. And I think the blues is so important because it's the foundation of everything else. And, you know, I do these Blues in the Schools programs as well to try and bring that to the forefront. I go around and I ask like, oh, who's your favorite band? And I can draw, almost always, I can draw the lineage from who they like to some blues artist from back in the day, or gospel artists, right? So I think it's just good to teach that lineage and not lose it, because it's part of the American tapestry, you know. And it's so much what everybody loves, but they don't understand where it comes from all the time. So I think it's good to just keep teaching it, keep playing it, you know, and introduce younger and younger generations to it. You know, my sisters who are 15, 13, and 10 have grown up listening to this stuff and they love it, you know. So while they also listen to the pop stuff and top 40, there's room for all of it. So I think the dual degrees at Berklee really helped me to see the music from a different way. You know, it's one thing to be playing and singing in it, and you have that perspective. But if you're zooming out and you're on the other side of the glass, you hear things totally differently. I write totally differently because I know how I want production to go down. You know what I mean? Which, had I not gone through that program, I probably wouldn't think of music as deeply and hear as much as I do in the music now. Now I'm like, oh, that's a nice slap delay on that, and and you start to have these things that you like, and they go towards how you sound. You know, my last record very much sounds like me because I know what I'm looking for from the writing, from the playing, from the production perspective, and getting the right people on it too. So that helps a lot. Oh my goodness. Berklee's commencement is always crazy, but I feel like I really lucked out that year because, I mean, when do you get Willie Nelson and Annie Lennox and Carole King, who then they all brought Chris Christopherson and Willie Nelson's son, Lucas Nelson. They were all up there, you know. And Carole King didn't perform, but I was part of the band that played behind both Annie Lennox and Willie Nelson. And it's just amazing to sit behind people who have been in this and they know so strongly who they are. Willie is so unapologetically Willie Nelson, you know, and Annie Lennox is the same. And she gave one of the strongest commencement speeches like I've ever heard. It's up online too. I recommend you check it out. But it's just an incredible experience for me, especially leaving Berklee, where you kind of get lost in the Berklee bubble sometimes and you think that Berklee is the world, you know, but seeing artists who have just so undeniably been themselves, that is so inspirational going out. And that's a huge part of why I am, you know, trying to do things my way, you know what I mean? The thing that has surprised me more is I see myself as an artist first. I don't even call attention to the fact that I'm female or anything of the sort. And so to kind of go out and people will, not anymore, but when I started, it was kind of dismissive, like you're a little girl doing this and still learning the ropes and whatever. And I'm always someone who has known who I am. I'm very blessed in that way, thanks to my mom. I'm very strongly rooted and have a strong sense of self and what I want to do. And so that I think was probably the biggest challenge to get over at the beginning. It does take a lot of work. And, you know, if you're not doing it, it seems like it's all fun because you're only playing for 90 minutes a night or whatever. But there's so much work on the back end that you know, you just learn along the way, which is very cool. When people have been somewhat dismissive, it does tend to fire me up in this way, and it's not something that you would see, but I think that's why most people feel the way that I play. It's kind of in an attacking sort of way. It's kind of like I'm getting after it because I'm not a little girl, a pansy, or any of those things, you know, and it's like this comes from the deepest parts of my soul, and I want people to feel that. And that's the way I play, you know. I would describe my approach to songwriting as not having one, per se. I think, you know, again, coming from the very different genres, they inform the songwriting so much that you take on a different style every song. So for me, I've written some more like Mississippi Hill country stuff. I've written just some more Delta slide guitar kind of stuff. And then I've written funk, and all of them take a different idea of storytelling. So sometimes the music comes first, sometimes the lyrics come first. Sometimes I have ideas that, you know, I've had since college. Like I've had little one-liners written down somewhere. But at the end of the day, I think what unifies them all is me trying to tell a story, either about my own life or to create and set an image, you know, set the play, set the stage. and tell a story from there. So that's both coming from the countryside, you know. I would say the Wood Brothers of late have been a huge influence on my songwriting. They're like my favorite band to go see live because everybody just gets up and dancing, and I think Oliver Wood's songwriting is subtle in this gorgeous way and still raucous, you know. So he's been a huge influence. I mean, there are a ton of like Nashville songwriters that I love as well. Gary Burr being one of them. I studied in college 1,000 Wild Horses, which is still one of my favorite songs. It's just, you should listen to it, it's great. I love that metaphor of a blender. So I think what gets poured into my blender is, there's a lot of Bonnie Raitt in there. I love her early records. They're pretty much what I go after now. Some blues, some funk, some soul, you know, a little bit of New Orleans in there too. I think that's a lot of what gets poured into me. And I think I'm just trying to, again, be a storyteller and connect. I think that's a big part of who I am, is just trying to make people feel something, feel at home, but also experience, you know, maybe a part of my life that they can connect to, and just have that exchange of energy between, you know, me and the audience. So I think that all goes into my blender. It's all funk and blues and soul, and yeah. The pandemic has totally changed the way that I think about things. I left the road pretty exhausted after pushing myself for 5 years, and again, filling every little tidbit of time. So, and what I didn't realize is that I had a band at the time that was kind of draining me of that energy. And so the pandemic was harsh in the way that it ended, but it has allowed me to surround myself with people who love and respect what I'm doing, and they're a better fit for me. So they make my job incredibly easy, which has been a great change. And I think I'm trying to prioritize self-care. I think that's the biggest thing that most of us got out of it, is like, you know, if you don't take care of yourself, you can't go out and give more of yourself to people. So that's actually one of my songs, Hard on the Line, is kind of about that. It's about restoring, and so that you can go back out and love what you do, and make sure you give 110% every time, you know? I am seeing more energy. Yeah, I think you know, all these audiences are starved for live music. There's only so much a live stream can do, you know, and being in the room, there's a different energy. And so I know people that are kind of like, it's my first show in 2 years. They come at it just like, yes, I'm so eager and I'm so ready. And, you know, we just played Syracuse a couple weeks ago, sold out this club of like 80 people 2 nights in a row, and they were just hooping and hollering, and, you know, that's been kind of across the line. You still get some gigs where people are kind of tentative, of course, but yeah, they definitely have a deep appreciation for this music coming back and being able to experience it together and have that conversation. The thing I'm most proud of right now is my latest record is called Hard on the Line. And man, I'm gonna get emotional. It's crazy. I've been talking about this record for 2 years. But this record is like very near and dear to my heart. When I got off the road, I lost my dog. Sorry. About 3 days in, and this record gave me purpose to kind of keep going and help me get over that. And it's a lot of stories from my life. There's a story in there about If Only, and it's written about my stepdad, and just a lot of things about my upbringing. It is the most concentrated form of me, I guess. And I produced the whole thing. I wrote 8 of the 11 songs on it. I recorded all the saxophone parts, so soprano, alto, tenor, bari, all from my bedroom at home. Same as all the background vocals and most of the lead vocals as well. And then wrote the horn parts for trumpet and trombone and bari sax as well. So it's just to me, it's like as near to a perfect project as I will ever get. And I just hope to keep making albums on that level. So I think that's the thing I'm proudest of.